Which of these two mega grovelers is for you? Let's compare. We have the tried and true, and maybe you can guess because it's right behind me, and I sound lovely and I look lovely per usual. The classic sweet potato. Yes, this is a new uh, edition of it. I think this is actually the sweet potato 2 now. But the sweet potato shape has been around for a long time. It used to be the baked potato, then it was the twice baked. I don't even know what the name is anymore that it came to be until now there is this sweet potato, which I think is the best sweet potato. I've never been interested in the other sweet potato boards. I thought they didn't look like my style of board. This one, on the other hand, is definitely my style of board. Very similar to the Firewire Machadocado, which is another mega uber groveler, which is also very much my style of board. Now, if you look in the thumbnail and you've seen these boards in person or just somewhere on the internets, they actually look very similar. The sweet potato really is almost a Machadocado, just with a swallowtail. You can see it right here. The kind of shallow swallowtail, but a swallowtail nonetheless. The Machadocado has a big old fat PHAT squash tail. But here's where they start to differ. The Machadocado's squash tail is razor thin. That thing's as thin as it can be. The sweet potato tail, it's thin, but it's not as thin as the Machadocado. Where this helps is it helps it grovel even better. Spoiler alert, if you don't feel like sticking around for the whole live stream, but before I give this, you got to smash the like, you got to hit subscribe, and you got to comment below. Which of these two boards do you prefer, the Machadocado or the sweet potato? Spoiler alert, the sweet potato is the ultimate longboard destroyer. This 510 sweet potato has as much volume as my 7-foot Seaside and Beyond. 45-ish liters. That is insanity. The 510 mashup has 37.6 liters in its 510. So really right there, the mashup is going on 7-8 liters less volume. Or sorry, the Machadocado is going on 7-ish liters less volume than the fancy sweet potato right here. Now, when you're riding on these boards, what I right away have noticed, and I've ridden both 510 Machadocados. I've ridden that board probably 7 times now, 6, 7 times. I've ridden the sweet potato 4 times, 3 or 4 times. But I have ridden the sweet potato in like very long sessions. And because the sweet potato is kind of similar to the Machadocado, I kind of understand it more after riding the Machadocado first. Also, some differences between the two. So the sweet potato, it has, as you can see right here, 5 fin setup. I'm rocking the Endorphins 2+1 Kellys with the bigger trailer. This again, I can't say trailer. Can't say it. These fins are like amazing. I tried the smaller trailer in here, and it was way too loose. It made the sweet potato almost unrideable. So with the sweet potato, if you're gonna go 2+1, you kind of have to have a back fin in there, unless you're just super used to riding like the slidiest no drive board ever. With this bigger KS endorphin fin, it turns into like has a lot of drive, but really lets you still pivot it when you need. It's pretty much like the Machadocado 2+1s, but it has a lot more of an ability to let the tail go loose, to kind of throw the tail around. The Machadocado is surprisingly tight with how the tail reacts when you're pivoting and when you're snapping. I think if you and this is crazy too because the Machadocado, the 510 is 37 liters, and it does feel more stiff than this in 510 at 45 liters. Now the Swallowtail, it really is like the end all of all tails in terms of pivoting, being able to release the tail, etc. I don't think there's a better tail setup than the Swallowtail, than a big swallow, small swallow. Keep the comments PG in the chat there. We're talking about surfboards. But a swash tail, what it does differently is it's going to have like a little bit more hold. So you're going to feel like a little bit more drive. But then when you try to release the tail, it's not going to let you release it as much because it doesn't have 2 points. It doesn't have a below point and a top point. It only has one flat spot that needs to be kind of pushed around like almost like a boat or something. It doesn't have 2 different tails that can pivot off of each other. Another super interesting part about the tail of the sweet potato versus the Machadocado is the sweet potato actually has a pretty decent step downness to it, similar to the mashup. It's not as extreme, but because of the step downness, and what I mean is once it gets towards the tail, there's like a little indention right there that kind of dips down. Even all the way through the board, the sweet potato has kind of like this step up thing where the rails start to go down pretty early, like the album Twinsman, where you're stepping on like a platform, or the Pizel Gremlins, the most extreme example right now. It kind of has a platform, and then these big round edges start going, and then they go down. So this makes the sweet potato ride really well, even though when you're looking at this thing in person, it is the widest board ever. Like even looking at it right now, it's back there in the bokeh blur. But look out, I mean, you can tell like that thing is ginormously wide. I mean, to be 5'10 with 45 liters, it has to go somewhere. So it's going to go in the width. And if you look at the thumbnail, the nose is super wide, the tail is super wide, and the board is just extremely wide. The 510 is 22 and a half inches wide, which is pretty unbelievable. I mean, there's not many fishes that are 5'10 that are the standard width of a 5'10 fish is like 20 and a half. So you're going, that much wider, which is going to make a big difference. It's going to actually make the board plane better in terms of like when there's nothing of a wave, when there's a nothing burger, the wider the board is, the better it's going to go in nothing. The thinner, the not wider it is, it's going to be a little more pivoty, but it's not going to have just the natural drive of a bigger board. But because of the step downness and the tail gets the mashup kind of like extreme step downness, it ends up being very kind of just like back and forth like the mashup can do, where the mashup can tic tac and it feels like you're on a skateboard. The sweet potato has a very similar feeling. It's just not as extreme, and you're kind of just more of like a boat doing it as opposed to like a little skateboard. The Machadocado to me doesn't ride like that at all. The Machadocado kind of rides almost like you're just riding an oversized shortboard. I mean, it has a nice ride, and it's like riding a bike when you hop on the Machadocado. It just makes a lot of sense. It's kind of easy to ride because it's such a classic shape we're all used to. It's just kind of squished down and stretched out. And then the fins that Rob Machado made for the board are really great. They work like perfectly. I wouldn't even think of changing them. Maybe putting a slightly smaller back fin in there could make it a little more throwy of the tail, etc. when you want. Shout out Tommy Surfs. I know you experimented a lot with different back fins on some of these similar boards. You might have even done it with the Machadocado, but you were saying that a smaller one does work a little better because that back fin on the Rob twin fin 2 2+1 Rob Machado twin fins that come with the board essentially, it's a pretty decent size. You look at the endorphin fins versus the Rob Machado twin fins, and the Rob Machado ones are just straight up bigger. They're also, I think, a little bit more upright. These seem to be a teeny bit more rakey, and they kind of remind me of like Kelly's old 2+2.1 tri-fin, just bigger and more of a pointy tip. Um, so really the sweet potato, I think, also is probably meant to be ridden as a quad. I prefer having the pivot on the back fin and just having a little less fins than a quad. The Machadocado, you don't have 5 fin setup. You don't have the option to do a quad. You can only do a tri-fin. Now, this is where the Machadocado, I think, does reign supreme, because really with the 5 fin setup, I think in the end, even though it is great to have 2 setups, I feel like you're kind of sacrificing each setup by making both setups possible. I think there might be a teeny bit of things you need to move to have that back fin, the front fin of the quad. I don't think that's necessarily right in the same spot as the front fin of a tri-fin. Could be wrong, but even on a twin fin, it's a lot more noticeable. There probably is a teeny bit of a micro adjustment you could make to put that fin a little better suited to make it a proper tri-fin or 2+1. I think a lot of these surf companies, though, they like making the 5 fin board because they don't exclude a certain sector of the audience that prefers quad or prefers tri-fin. I've always preferred tri-fin. I've had a few quads that have went well, but for me, the tri-fin setup's tried and true. And on a board like the sweet potato, if you try to ride it as a quad, I think that it's going to ride more like the twice baked and the old baked potatoes, where it had like the old baked potato was kind of like a Machadocado with the quad, but it didn't have the thinness of the tail and the pulled inness of it. So I think I rode one once, and to me, it kind of felt like riding a Almeric biscuit, the old biscuit that was the Rob Machado model, where it was a Bonzer, so it really had a lot of drive, but no pivot at all. The sweet potato with the 2+1, you're in pivot city. It's like the most pivoty. It's unbelievable how awesome the 510 47-liter sweet potato rides. Was blown away. And I have a review coming out in a few weeks. I'm still working on it, but surprisingly, I've gotten to ride the sweet potato in like not even grovelly surf, like waist to stomach to chest high surf. And really, it's almost like it doesn't even have that much of a limit compared to like the Machadocado, like, or even the mashup. It's like, I think maybe it's something to do with the helium, but if you can have control of the board, in a big enough wave, as long as it's not too big, it's kind of fun because you can really just throw it around. And as long as the wave's not too like top to bottom, it can perform good on up to head high waves, especially with the 2+1 endorphin setup. This was recommended to me by the Firewire guys. Because they knew I wanted the 2+1 setup, or the twin fin setup on this board. So that was really awesome. I mean, anyone in the comments, if you prefer either of these, let me know. But it's like really in the end, it'd be nice to just have both the Machadocado and the sweet potato and the mashup, because the mashup ends up being, if you have all those boards in the same size, the mashup ends up being like your shortboard. The Machadocado ends up being your kind of fish groveler, and then the sweet potato ends up being your longboard replacement board. So even though they're still all categorized as grovelers and they're all still very similar, they are actually very different. And I think Firewire has done a good job of not having one board cannibalize a certain area of the market. And really, you end up kind of like wanting a couple of these because they are actually pretty different. And not in the way where like 2 shortboards are different, in the way that like a fish is different than a shortboard. Like there is a noticeable difference riding the sweet potato than the Machadocado. I would say if you are Another spoiler warning, like if you've made it this far, please smash like, hit subscribe. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. The channel is doing really well. You guys are liking the live stream, surf talk, the surfboard comparisons. My plan is to keep them up. But if you're going to be riding like pretty good waves every day, but it's like not the best, it's like waist to chest every day, and you want to have some performance, Machadocado all day. If you're riding like fatter waves every day and you probably just could ride a longboard every day, then you go sweet potato too. In my Machadocado review, I did call it the longboard killer, and I did really ride it in like the worst waves you could probably ride it in. I mean, it was pretty much as flat as you can get. I'll leave the link to that in the channel, the Machadocado review. I'll also leave the mashup review if you want to check that out too. But the Machadocado, it ended up being a lot more grovelly than I thought, and just like a really fun board. Like I really just want it. Like I need it. Like the kids say, I need it. And the sweet potato, like I just wanted to try before I spent another, monies on the Machadocado. But really, the board I'm trying to get here is kind of like a Seaside and Beyond replacement, like a really good grovelly board that can be a longboard. And the sweet potato is definitely more of a longboard than the Machadocado, like straight up. But I also find the sweet potato rides a little more pivoty and a little more loose. I'm sure if you threw a bigger fin in the back fin where the endorphin small fin goes, it probably would ride a little more like a Machadocado and be a little more stiff and a little less throwy. I'm surprised. You can also go on my Instagram. It's Travis Varga _, and I have a decent amount of sweet potato clips, just like little random reels. And it's really surprising how the glide down the line on the sweet potato and the up and down movement is really nice, and it feels like amazing. It quickly is becoming my favorite surfboard because it almost tricked me. Like I thought the waves were better than they were just because the board was performing so well. And I was able to ride it so high performance, even though it was like a very slow, kind of fat wave. So I thought that like this board is really amazing. And if you like, I don't know of a better like super duper groveler on the market than the sweet potato right now, just because when I look around, it's this thing's so gargantuan and kind of silly looking that it's preposterous. Like when you look at the board in real life again, you're just like, that thing's not going to ride good. But once you lay on it in the water and you start paddling, it is really nice. The helium keeps it like really buoyant and bouncy, and it's like just at the limit where the only time I notice it being too floaty is when I'm sitting on the board because the board wants to do something and you're sitting straight on it. So really it like kind of got to pick a way to go back or forward because if you sit straight on it, it doesn't want to go in the water. And then your poor back and butt is going to be just like sitting against the metal that's not going to float. So really that's the only problem is when you ride these really big small boards is like maybe the duck diving, which I can duck dive this board somehow. So my limit for duck diving, I can duck dive a really big longboard. So it's kind of a technique as well. You can learn how to duck dive big boards. But the Machadocado, it can duck dive really well for being super oversized. And the only problem is you got to get used to when you sit on it. Are you going to let it go like this? Or are you going to kind of let it, I usually go towards the nose, let the back go out. Once you turn and lay on the board and start paddling, like it's magic. So, all right, we got a comment from Costa Azul Joe. I just butchered your name. I apologize about that. Costa Azujo. He says, I love my 511 Seaside. I can't ride my mashup anymore. It feels too narrow and loose now. How does the sweet potato compare to the Seaside? Ooh, that's a great idea for another video. Maybe that's the next one. I have to write that down. Dude, I agree though, like the mashup, it really is like my good wave board when it's not too big. And when I ride it, I have the 5.9 mashup, which is 34 liters. So that's already like kind of too big, but I'm so used to riding these really big grovelers now that when I ride the mashup, the 5.9 mashup, it's like it's sick and I'm shredding and I'm like, hey, how did I look on this board? Everyone's like, you look amazing. Like, that's awesome. But it almost feels like I don't have enough board and it's just so skatey and kind of like out of control. And then I hop on the Seaside and Beyond or the Machadocado or the Sweet Potato, and it's like such a smooth, nice ride. It's almost like a stylistic choice of how you want to ride on the surfboard. Um, I would say the Sweet Potato rides a lot like the mashup, or sorry, the Seaside. I would say the Sweet Potato, though, to me, it rides better than the Sweet Potato. I almost said the sweet side. The Sweet Potato rides better than the Seaside because you have to ride the Seaside as a quad. You could ride the Seaside as a twin. I just haven't done that yet, but it could be a little too skatey as a twin. The Seaside and Beyond does ride good as a twin, but the rail line is a lot longer, so it actually rides good as a twin because you have enough surface area up towards the nose that it doesn't get so compressed and want to be like a disc floating around. It just the back floats around nice and the front stays. The 511 Seaside, I've ridden the 510 and the 61, so I understand that. I mean, it's a big board. I mean, the 511 Seaside, what? That's 40 liters, 41 liters. I haven't looked it up, but I'm guessing right there. And the 6-1 Seaside's 47 liters. So the 6-1 Seaside's pretty similar to the 510 Sweet Potato. But because of the quad, I noticed the Seaside, it rides a little more drivey, less flicky, and still, even though it is longboardy, you can't like cheat it as much as the Sweet Potato. The Sweet Potato's nose is a lot more round. The Seaside nose is like a typical retro fish nose. The Sweet Potato nose has more in common with the Machadocado nose. The mashup probably has a little more in common with the Sweet Potato nose. But also the mashup, I'm realizing the front of the board, the top, I think is a lot more similar to the Dominator or the Spitfire, like that it was supposed to be for. And the bottom's kind of like the Seaside part of that board. The the top of both of these boards, the Sweet Potato and the Machadocado, they almost look really similar. Just the Sweet Potato has the little swallowtail in there. So it's funny that you said you can't even take your mashup out anymore because I agree. It is like you're riding. It feels like a shortboard. It's just a shortboard. So it's good when the waves are a little more top to bottom, a little more speed, and you just want to like be on the WSL shredding. You could even make a power play and just sell the mashup and get a Sweet Potato. I mean, I think there is a decent amount of overlap there. Like, I don't see that much difference between the Seaside and the Sweet Potato besides the Seaside riding a certain way if you like a quad feeling and if you want like a little bit more natural drive. The Sweet Potato has great, like, you help it drive down the line a little bit by pumping, and it's really good at that. And then it's really good at like turning, throwing it up, and coming down. With a Sweet Potato, you can't just throw it up and coming down as easy because you have to have your foot all the way back as you do on this board. But this board has the small fin in the back. I can't say the TRAILER word anymore. I just can't pronounce that word. Pronounce. Where the Seaside, just the Rob quads, essentially, even the two back quads are pretty big. And I don't even know, Rob rides is so small. I think that's how he really whips it around. But when you oversize the Seaside, it does end up being more like a longboard plowing through chunder, which is great because you could like walk up and kind of do the longboard cheat, etc. But I rode the biggest Seaside in the volcanic lamination, and that one was awesome because it was definitely very longboardy, but I noticed it was not as pivoty at all as the Sweet Potato. It was a lot more kind of just like a really big retro fish with a good amount of hold. I think Dan Mann's tails in natural, if it's just a Dan Mann shape, are a lot more like tic-tacking on a skateboard. So if you rode both the Sweet Potato and the Seaside in the same fin setup, both quad. That'd be an interesting test and try to match them exactly. What is the 511 Seaside volume? It is, yeah, 41. Yeah, so it's 41 liters. So it probably is similar to the 5.8 sweet potato. So if you like Joe Costa, if you like how the Seaside, that volume, you could get the 5.8 sweet potato. That could be perfect for you. If you want like even more of a longboard, then go 5'10". Depends on your weight. I don't know if you want to let me know how much you weigh and how tall you are, but you could, you know, get the sweet potato to be like even more of a groveler. Maybe you're like a big guy and the 5'11 Seaside is kind of like your fish. Well, the sweet potato would end up being your mid-length or longboard replacement. But for me, it definitely feels like this awesome gap of like there's enough wave, but if it gets a little bigger, it still actually will ride really well. When it's like the most smallest ever, it's like knee high and just you're barely moving. I don't mind riding a longboard. I actually like riding longboards because you can kind of rest. It's just the natural glide. And I ride my longboard. It's an 8-foot fun board essentially by WRV. It has a pintail, and I ride it with a big twin fin, the Album NVS twin fins. So it rides kind of like a super big fish board. And I really like it because you can just get so much speed. That's why sometimes a bigger board gives you more speed, even if it's boatier and floatier. More board, it's like math. More board, you're going to go faster as long as you know what you're doing. If you get kind of bogged down, it's because you got to work a little bit of the board to get going. And that's what I noticed for sure on the sweet potato with the helium that Firewire does. It's just so light that if you're just kind of light footed, you can like really just do anything like on a very small wave. I mean, all these guys are riding the sweet potato very small, and I don't think you have to worry as much about riding it too small just because it's more forgiving. The main thing I see people with the mashup do, they buy the mashup, they buy the 5.7. You probably have the 5.7 mashup. What mashup do you have? They buy the 5.7 mashup. It's too small and they don't really have fun. I think because the board, I think it needs to be kind of more marketed as like this is your shortboard replacer. To me, it doesn't even feel like a groveler because once it starts getting a little weak and you're trying to get through a flat spot, it's just so tic-tacky and kind of crazy that it's harder just to like rest on the board and do like a long board flow through it. So Joe says, thanks. I've always been a thruster guy until I got the Seaside. I'm 5'11", 175. But I can ride the Seaside overhead in Bali and Maldives. I don't think you can do that on the sweet potato, right? Good point. Um, I don't think you can. You're right. I think the sweet potato hits its limit sooner than the Seaside for sure. I'm kind of your weight and height. I'm maybe like an inch smaller and a couple pounds lighter, but I'm essentially your size. And yeah, unless you put like those quads in the sweet potato and through like a back fin in there, I think it could maybe hold. Um, I can. So you just get to surf Bali and Maldives every day. You're just killing it. How do you pull that off? You just live there or something? You're doing it right. But yeah, so that's why I would say like it's more of a groveler. So like for you, it'd be pretty much when it's a little smaller. But I think those are the two most similar boards because the Machadocado I think is a little more high performance than the Seaside. When the Machadocado first came out, a lot of people were saying like essentially it's you can get that to kind of ride more high performance than the Seaside. So even the Machadocado would be a great option for you because it's if you want like a to replace your mashup in like a shortboard, the Machadocado I think is a better shortboard for what you're after than the mashup. Because the mashup it kind of like hits this limit where it's I rode the mashup in pretty big waves this last swell, and it got pretty big. There was like some overhead sets for sure, and like it actually didn't feel too squirrely for that. It was like almost right the perfect mark where I was like, oh wow, I can really surf this board well. And that's where almost having a teeny bit more board on the mashup, if you get the mashup a little bigger, it actually would work better in bigger waves. But most people get it a little smaller, so once it gets too big, it's a little too skatey and crazy. The Seaside actually probably has better hold in the mashup due to this the thickness of the back and even the thickness of the front. It's not going to get thrown around as much. Um, so I think either of those, but I can ride the Seaside. That's sick though that you can ride the Seaside. I think is pretty amazing and like bigger waves. To me, it's almost like the Seaside and Beyond because it's the Seaside and Beyond. Oh, I got a like and it's I'm getting likes, dislikes, likes. It's going off in the like dislike area. The Seaside and Beyond is definitely like really good at riding big waves. All these boards I'm talking about are actually slightly better grovelers, I think, than the Seaside and Beyond. Just because the Seaside and Beyond, he stretched it out a little bit, so it ends up being like good on a smaller wave, but you kind of like don't know where to put your feet because you want to like kind of put your feet up. You got to put your feet back, turn, and you kind of like want to walk around, but the rails are a little more refined than the Seaside, so it actually starts to really excel once it gets a little bigger and it's like slopey waves. That's when the Seaside and Beyond you can start like doing nice big turns and it's like really fun. Um, when the wave's super small, there's almost too much board, and it ends up being like kind of just a little like too much board going on, too much length in the board. So Firewire has really done something cool where they have like all these boards that are good for the waves that a lot of us ride. I mean, you look at a lot of surfboards these days. I mean, they're better now, but a lot of boards may look amazing, but you're gonna get out there and get on the board and be like I've seen during this last kind of bigger swell, I've seen a few people there out there on like their what did he have? Like their sci-fis and similar shortboards. But the shortboard, they based the size on like the actual size chart that the surfboard companies tell you, which I think are always a little smaller. Like you might as well get a little bit more volume unless you're an 8-year-old who shreds or like a 17-year-old who's like that this is like your thing, you compete and all that. When I started riding slightly bigger boards, my surfing got better. And then now it's like I can really feel it when I'm on a board that's not as big because I'm losing speed. I can't get around sections. I just have to have the right fin set up to do what I want to do. And that's where like either the Machadocado or the sweet potato, like the fin setup really makes the board light up because you can ride as the tri fin. I think a quad fin, just generally speaking, is not my style of surfing, so I have to adapt a little bit. If your style of surfing is not as throwy and like in the pocket like Noel Salas from Surf and Show, like kind of how he surfs, even though the Seaside is one of his favorite boards ever. So it really there's so many variables that I also think if you're more of a back foot surfer, this is where the Seaside and the quads come in handy a little more too because you rely on your back foot a lot. If you're a front foot surfer, you kind of want the back of the board where your back foot is to follow your front foot. The more resistance you have on the back of the board on your back foot, the harder it is going to be to follow your front foot. One way to figure out if you're a front foot surfer or a back foot surfer is have you ever fallen and your foot slides off and the board smacks you in the face? That's an easy way to know, oh, my foot slid off, so the board isn't turning, so therefore the board hits you in the face. If you're a back foot surfer, the board wouldn't hit you in the face so quick. The board might go a little bit that way. It might just turn and fly off. But because your front foot slipped, it's a really easy indicator that you're kind of like pushing pressure on there, and then it releases and just your back foot pings it up. And you can just tell too by when you are surfing on the board, and if you have a pad on there or you don't have a pad, I am so used to riding no pads that when I ride like the sweet potato, this has a pad because shout out Firewire, I'm demoing it. Thank you very much. Y'all are much appreciated. I got to shout out Chris Grow, Shred Show, Chris Grow. You're my hero. Trying to be like you. Um, the pad on the board, I'm so used to no pad that it really throws me off because I stand up and my back foot is usually not even on the back of the pad. It's usually right in front of the back of the pad. So the first couple of seconds of the wave, I'm thinking, all right, my back foot's too far up. I got to put it back, and it starts messing with me. Where when there's not a pad on there, I just stand up and go, and I'm never like, oh, my back foot's not where it should be. It's exactly where it should be. So that goes to show too, if your back foot isn't, you have trouble getting your back foot far enough back, you're relying more on your front foot to help kind of do the pumping and it's more of an equal balance even too. Whereas that's why a lot of standard thrusters, they're kind of made for back foot surfing. They're made for someone like Aki or something because there's not much going on halfway on the board up. There's a lot going on halfway down. So a lot of that you're having to move the board around with your back foot with the back of the board. So I think we're in like a great spot now where we have videos like this of two super fun small wave boards that actually makes sense for the average person. Like these are boards that you anyone can buy, and even like now, I saw some the other day. They had the 5.6 sweet potato, and my other friend has the 5.8. So the sweet potato, because a lot of people want to get the smallest board they can, you're not going to get as messed up by going too small because even the 5.8 has 37 liters. It has 41 liters. So, and the 5.6 has 37 liters. So the sweet potato 5.6 is most like the Machadocado 5.10, which is pretty crazy. And what's really great is both of them, I think, paddle a lot better than the mashup. And maybe even a little better than the Seaside, just because both of the noses, you can see in the thumbnail, the noses are very similar. The board actually looks almost the same. And people were even commenting when the Machadocado first came out that it was a sweet potato board. And I even kind of was like, all right, yeah, you're right. I mean, they look very similar. But then in the descriptions of the boards, Firewire does kind of say that the sweet potato is like so gargantuan and outrageous that they're trying to market it towards like something way different. The Machadocado, they're just going to try to say, or they're saying it's kind of like a groveler, like this is pretty much like the mashup. But I think it grovels a lot better than the mashup. But yeah, if anyone else has any comments to chime in, etc., please let me know. Comment below again if you guys, which one of these boards you prefer. Costa Zul Joe. Costa Zul Joe. Costa Zul Joe. Let me know what you end up doing if you sell the mashup, if you get the sweet potato. I mean, really, if you had like even just all these boards, it would be sick. And like, shout out Tommy Surfs. Like he says, like I think he might have the mashup in like two sizes right next to each other. And it's crazy that like in the end, if you even had like for me, if I had the 5.9 mashup and the 5.10 mashup, that would be like those boards are actually really different. And in my mashup review, I rode one in the wave pool. I own one, the 5.9, and I still kind of regret like, oh, I wish I had the 5.10. But then sometimes I ride the 5.9 and I'm doing just the craziest maneuvers ever, and I'm like, well, I can't do that on the 5.10. So even 1 inch of difference in the same model can make a lot of difference in how the board surfs. So when you start like taking shapes like the Machadocado and you even make it wider and thicker, and it's gonna actually surf a lot different, even though the outlines and the templates of both these boards look really similar. So it's super interesting, and ideally my goal is to have both. Is to have the 5.10 sweet potato and the 5.10 Machadocado, because I would just ride them in different conditions. If it was waist to stomach and kind of slow, I'd ride the Machadocado. If it was thigh to waist, I ride the sweet potato. If it's chest to head, I can ride the mashup. Um, so all the boards, even though they have some overlap, they're really good on their own. And even the same board and its different sizes can ride different enough that, like, if you even had this 511 Seaside, you could even just get like a slightly bigger Seaside. But I don't think really up in your Seaside is the best bet for like bigger waves. All right, we have a new comment. I guess got to keep locking in here. He says Wolfgang won. So we're in overtime. This is overtime for you peoples. Do you think the construction like PU versus helium, get the versus helium, say if we both were 33 liters, would you say the helium construction would feel like it had more volume just based on construction? Yes, I would. I'd say it'd feel like it'd have 1 to 2 liters more volume. That thought process helped me make the decision to buy the 5.9 mashup because it's 34 liters. And my go-to's kind of, you're welcome, no problem, Wolfgang one. I wouldn't 100% though, like, count on it to be like a whole different thing. Like, what board are you considering or whatever? Because like the mashup, the 34 mashup probably does paddle like the 510 pod mod, which is 35.7 liters. So yeah, 1 to 2 liters, it feels different. But the helium, it even goes a little bit beyond just it like feeling more buoyant. It kind of has like more of a spring. So when you stand up on the board, even though it's going to feel like it has more volume paddling, once you stand up, it actually feels like it has less volume once you're up and riding because it's lighter and it doesn't like dig into the water as much. So you kind of feel like it's less bored than the PU version of it would be. So it's almost like kind of counterintuitive because it feels like it's more bored and it paddles better. Then you stand up, it can almost feel like it's less bored because it's just so light and buoyant and kind of bobby. I for one like have like fallen in love with the helium stuff. Like I really really like it. Uh, I like how it's so get up and go, and it's really just feels like a PU board on steroids or a PU board that has like some of the weight sucked out of it. Um, so I really am liking it, and I haven't really liked any other epoxy boards. I mean, even some of the good ones have always been not my favorite, but the helium, it doesn't even feel like epoxy. It just feels like it's its own brand of epoxy. And they are with the helium and everything going on, it's like kind of the one of the better surfboards for the environment. So it's if that does kind of matter to you, at least you can kind of feel good that at least you're trying your best to contribute a little bit to the world. Whereas a PU board, in terms of like its destruction to our planet, unfortunately, it is like the worst material because it's just oil that is glassed with fiberglass and the cloth. It's just the whole thing is like it's kind of unsurfy in terms of like how it's processed. Whereas the Eco Board Project, which is from Sustainable Surf Sea Trees and Firewire, is pretty old now. The program, but like they have to kind of at least pass a couple things that it's kind of like buying something that's non-GMO. You at least know that some of the modified organisms, aren't going to get in your body. And if you want to go to the next step, you can buy the organic. And I know it is controversial if any of this stuff does even matter, if it's all marketing, but I think at least they're trying is what I see it as. So, and then let's see, Wolfgang has some more to say here. He has, well, I've always ridden PU. For me, I'm 6'2", 190, 195. So he's read 33 liters and believe are good. But if it's meh, I ride like a 35 to 38 liter. I'm in SoCal. I am as well. I can't dox myself, though. You cannot know exactly where I live. I was either going to go mashup 5.9 as sort of a performance groveler, which I think is around 35 liters. We were just talking about this. Have you ever tried double dart construction? How do you think it's a big difference than helium construction? Do you mean double dart? Is that the JS stuff? Let me see. Oh god, I almost just hit X on the live stream. Are we still here? Yeah. Double dart construction. I've written dark arts. Oh, it's the lost. Okay. I've seen this, but I haven't written this yet. Um, full carbon. I would compare the double dark. What's it called? The double. Keep it PG in here. Double dark construction. It seems to me like it's just carbon fiber, which is a lot like the dark arts. I mean, I wonder if they're even mimicking that when they invented it or who invented it first. Double dart. It says game changer, carbon fiber. So it's carbon fiber with like a little bit something else. I have not written that. I have written the dark arts board, the dad bod. And so I'll answer that question first, and I'll answer your other question about the mashup. But I would say the dark arts is awesome. Like it rides really awesome. I would say it does remind me a lot of the helium. So the carbon fiber board, to me, it rides a lot like a helium board. Those boards ride a lot more similar than a PU board. It has the springiness. I really liked it. My woes are because it's black, just wax melting, and I've heard anecdotally that that is actually an issue. Is that the wax melts because the board's black. If you've ever had black rails on a surfboard, you'll notice that right there on the blackness of the rails, it gets pretty melty. So imagine the whole top of the board being like that. So I've personally stayed away just for that. I was going to buy my album Twinsman in dark arts and I was super set on it. And then I kind of just got scared off because of the melting wax issue. Like it sounds hilarious because it's such a little dumb thing, but I wax like the crap out of my boards. Like if you saw the wax jobs, you'd be like, "What the crap?" Like I use tons of wax because I rely on sticking and I don't ride with traction pads. So I like wax. I'm wax city, and if all that wax was sitting on the black board, it's gonna melt off. Supposedly as well, you got to be careful with heat and the carbon fiber because the sun is hitting it so hard, it gets so hot, it could cause it to delam. It could do this in your car or on the beach. So if you can baby the board more, I think it's an awesome option. It's just hard because they're also the most expensive. Like they're extremely expensive. Um, One good option is maybe the top. You somehow get a color that's not black. The bottom can be black. You can try that, but I think it does ride. It probably does ride as good. Let's see. So real quick as well, you asked. So also the mashup verse. Got it. Thanks. He says Wolfgang says, "Got it. Thanks." Last question from me. Have you felt a big difference in using features or FCS fins too in terms of feel? Well, let me answer your other question first because I really want to answer your mashup question. So yeah, and you're like a little bigger than me, and you still ride boards that are pretty much me or a little smaller than me. So if you are welcome, Wolfgang. I appreciate you just lighting up the chat. Thank you very much. It's fun having this engaging dialogue. This is actually why I like the live streams. I like talking to you, people in real life. It's fun. But the mashup, see, I have the 5.9 mashup. That's what I own. It's 34 liters. So it pretty much is 35 liters in PU. I mean, I think that would be great for you. I mean, I think you're too big for that board, to be honest. I mean, 6'2", 190. I feel like that board is borderline too small for me. I'm 5'10-ish, 170, 175. And the 5'9 mashup for me is super skatey, super high performance, and it doesn't ride like the Machadocado, it doesn't ride like the Seaside, it doesn't ride like the Sweet Potato. You stand up, first off the mashup, it can't really even ride straight in whitewater that well. If you just finish the wave and you try to just ride straight, it can kind of do it, but it's a lot more like you got to be right in the right spot. You got to really try. These other boards, it's like you're just gonna cruise in the whitewater like 10 more yards, and it's not going to be as flimsy. If you've seen the mashup in person, the tail does this pulled in thing and it gets super thin. it causes the board to like a quad setup, which I have ridden, does alleviate this a little bit, but it feels like you're riding on a skateboard and you're tic-tacking, and it's not very like holdy in terms of just like it wants to be on rail. Someone said this on the other live stream. The mashup, it wants to be on rail. It doesn't want to just plain straight. So for me, it's like an awesome like high performance board. I want to be Philip Toledo or something, or Italo, and I just want to like try like to be a Brazilian. But it's overall, it's not really like my style of surfing. Like I do like to surf like that, like at high performance, but I do like when I'm just going straight down the line for a second. It's a little more holdy. So I really kind of prefer like the mashup and the Machadocado or the Machadocado, the sweet potato. Seaside just has a little bit more hold what I'm used to. Um, but I don't want to sell the mashup because I like having it for spot spike. All right, this might dox me a little bit, like blacks or like low tide drainers is where the mashup like excels. Small blacks and just kind of low tide and like a fast wave or a surf pool. Like the surf pool is where the mashup is. It's like bread and butter. When I went to Waco, that's where I tried the mashup, and that's why the board is so great at a wave pool because it's the wave pool. It's a short wave. You want to be just ping pang. You know what the wave's gonna do. It's not too top to bottom, but it's enough. So it's great for that. So hopefully that answers you there. I mean, if you were gonna get the mashup, I would actually say you should get the 510 mashup. It's 510, 35.6 liters. I think that would be perfect for you because it's the 5.9. If you're used to riding like that size board, I would say 510 mashup, maybe even 511 mashup. If you want like a high performance shortboard, that's what the mashup is to me. It's a high performance shortboard. It's not a fish. It's not really a groveler. Let's see what Wolfgang, and then I'll answer your other question about the. Okay, you just said 510. Seems like based on the tail, there's not a lot of problem with making sharp turns, staying in the pocket in terms of the mashup. Mashup probably good for lowers, then not to dox myself too. Oh, there you go. You're very close. Yeah, the mashup's like perfect for lowers. That's like the perfect board. I think for you, 510 is perfect. Oh, we have Costa chiming in. He says, yeah, thanks, bro. I ride a 6-foot mashup, 38 liters. It feels fine for me, but I'm 60. I just want paddle power. For sure. I think if you size the mashup properly and like a little bigger, that's like awesome because it's squirrely enough. Squirrely is the perfect adjective for the mashup. It is a squirrely board. So if you get it just a teeny bit bigger, it's going to actually work when the waves get a little better because it ends up not being the best board for like knee to thigh waves. You need at least a little wave, like a waist high wave, and then a teeny bit of top to bottom to it. But yeah, right here, Wolfgang Costa answered your question. He surfs it at uppers all the time, and he seems to like it a lot. What's your weight and height, Costa? Just to let him know. Because I think if you're kind of used to those dims and those liters, I would say 510. Yeah, I would say 510 mashup would be like your perfect board. It'd be 35-ish liters. You could ride it when the waves are meh, or if it gets like a teeny bit better, it would be like still hold enough. Whereas I think the mashup, because people size it so small, it's this weird zone where they can ride it like when it's a like waist high, but then it gets too big and the board ends up being like not enough board. So it's almost like a smaller window of boards to ride. Yeah, so he's 5'11", 175. So, and he is the 6-foot. Like I'm teeny bit smaller than him. Oh, he said it up there too. I'm teeny bit smaller than you, Joe. Costa's old Joe, and if I had to do it again, I probably would just prefer the 510 just to have teeny bit more hold, little less skatey. But I do like having the 5.9 for blacks and for like when it's a low tide, kind of throwy. So for the other question in the FCS2 versus future, well, one thing is if you're going to get a Firewire, they've kind of changed all their boards to future from like now on, even like a year ago on. So you'll see any new board from Firewire is going to have a future fin setup. I used to be an FCS fanboy, and I've slowly converted to futures. And it doesn't even have to do with how they surf. It has to do with, I think, lack in design from FCS. I think they're just stuck now with how it's designed. But I've had so many fin box destroyed by the FCS2 system because it's not all the way in the board. The back of the fin's usually sticking out a little bit, and it just in the back of the board. And it's happened heaps of times on my longboard that's in FCS1, my FCS2, Seaside and beyond. I've yet to have a future fin box, and even here, there's more of a gap when the fin does hit the back. I actually haven't seen a gap before. I've only seen it now on these twins right here. But I don't mind a little bit of water going through the fin, because the other thing is the FCS sometimes can have a teeny gap in the middle, which actually I don't think is that bad, because the a little bit of water can shoot through there and provide a little bit of release. And the internet does say that futures ride a little stiffer because the fin's all the way in the box and there's no water shooting anywhere. So I find the futures to be like in the box better. And because of that design with the futures, it's like the whole bottom. It just holds in the box better, and it does provide more hold, and I think is just a better system. So I was FCS for, you know, 20 years, 25 years. The last couple of years I'm finally starting to make the switch, and it's I'm sad. I'm sad. I love FCS, but now I'm a future fanboy. But I'm even more so a Naked Viking Surf fanboy. Please go support them. Naked Viking Surf. They're based in San Diego. I think their material is the G10 material. I think it's the best fin material ever. I really, really like it. And that's for me, I ride their AM comp fins. It's like a 3 thruster setup kind of. In their thing. Wolfgang says, "Got it, man. This live stream is awesome." Whoa, you've touched my heart, Wolfgang. Thank you very much. That means a lot. Thank you. Thanks. Really cool of you to say. Really cool of you to say. Because I've actually been enjoying the live streams, and it's funny now. I actually have like a pretty decent audience. I mean, it's hard to get one person to watch your live stream. Like, who cares about what you have to say and your opinion? So it's nice that I have like I'm building this community of surfers, and I feel like I'm experienced enough that I have some value and stuff to offer. And I like love pinging ideas off people. And I think YouTube's the last best place to do this kind of stuff. I think it's, still, you can still have some free speech as long as you don't say like a few naughty words on a list, then you're good. And there's enough echo chambers where you can go hang out in your echo chamber. No one hopefully is going to come cancel you. So it's like, still some like freedom on the YouTubes, whereas like the other one, it's all like a lot of fakeness. There's not much authenticity left, and it's just a lot of like lameness. I mean, like TikTok, I know we can all probably agree that it's pretty lame. Instagram's gotten pretty lame. Facebook, it's our grandparents are on there, and great for them. It's good to connect with your grandparents on Facebook, but like YouTube's like the actual place to be. Look at the stats. More people watch YouTube than Netflix now. So YouTube has taken over Hollywood. It's taken over TV. It's like so cool how now we have this organization, this like platform of creators that it's just me. I'm just here DIYing with the awesome ZV-1 camera and my amazing Zoom microphone here. And it's really cool. Like, you don't have to have 100 people on your film set to make your movie anymore. We got Ryan in the chat. Ryan, my boy. What's going on, man? What's going on? Thank you for stopping by again. I probably even chat here. You can say your names. Oh, I can. There we go. Say your name too, so it does something. Wolfgang, thank you. Yeah, Wolfgang says, "You're welcome. It's nice to talk to other surfers, and I found your videos really helpful in determining which board to go for next." That's really cool, man. Thanks so much. It is crazy because like I've been on YouTube for a while, but I've pivoted more towards surfing the last couple of years. I pretty much do like camera stuff. I went to film school. I'm a filmmaker by trade, so cameras and surfing are my life. So that's what the channel is, cameras and surfing. But even more so for me now, I've tried to focus more on surfing because it's it's less busy in terms of professionals, and it's kind of more even more natural, especially for stuff like live streams, because it's a lot more nuanced and a lot less of like a spec sheet, and it's a lot more subjective than I mean, they're very subjective, filmmaking and surfing, but it's a tighter knit of people in the surf community. Filmmaking is very, very broad, and hence there's thousands and millions of people on YouTube making camera content. There's only a handful of people on YouTube making surf content. Um, and it's fun for me because I get to combine like my love of filmmaking with surfing. So I'm at like a really good crossroad now where I get to talk to you guys, and we have like a little community, which is really cool. And I get to have like the best looking camera set up out of the other servers. I'm just joking, but I do like having like a sick setup, and this could even be a better setup. So it's funny how like even my little bare bones thing is like really amazing, and love how it looked. And if any of you guys are into like filmmaking or camera stuff too, please, you could always comment or send me an email, etc. If you go to my channel and you go to my community thing, I have my email there, my website, so we can always like connect via email if that's easier. I don't know how YouTube does the DM thing, but please, you go to the comments. Please comment. I always appreciate likes and comments and watching videos. It helps the YouTube algorithm push it out. Lately, these live streams have been helping push it out, and it's really cool because I used to watch like just to get a little emotional with y'all. So I used to watch Shred Show a lot, which is Chris Grow, who now works for Firewire. And Shred Show was all about like surfboard reviews, comparing surfboards. He had the black background, it was him on the board. It was like, and this was like almost a decade ago he was doing this. So he was doing show stuff like before surf and show even existed. And it's cool that he now recognizes what I'm doing and is like give me a lot of credit and be like, hey man, I really think your YouTube stuff's cool. Keep doing it. And he even helped me, get this Firewire board a demo now, and I get to make a review on it. So it's pretty cool to have like someone you looked up to saying what you're doing, they appreciate and they really like. So I'm super grateful for that. And it's pretty cool. It's coming full circle, and I just gotta stay focused and keep up the content. But I definitely have a sweet potato review in the works, and I was able to get a couple really sick sessions on it. So I'm super stoked on that because uh, I've kind of fine tuned a way to film myself surf, which I think is actually pretty hilarious because it's not like anyone else with what I'm doing. And I can actually get really good looking content and good video by filming myself, which is hilarious because the only other way to film yourself is using a solo shot. Not the only way, but the other best way. But the solo shot nightmares are so real that I'm apprehensive to go into it. So what I've been doing is using like a great camera and just having it on the beach and just all right, it's the A7S III. It's the best camera ever made until the ZV-1 got made. But the A7S III is better for like a workhorse camera because it has an EVF that you can look in, and it's an IMAX movie. But I can film with that on the beach, and if I use the right lens and I just expose right, etc., I can literally film my session and then just crop in and kind of Ken Burns effect. You guys are seeing the secret sauce here. I can film a wide shot, crop in because it's the 4K A7S III. It's like the best looking footage ever. And then this Ken Burns effect a little bit. So it's pretty much mimicking what the solo shot does, but the footage does look a little better. Um, and it's more bulletproof than the solo shot. It's more reliable than the solo shot, especially because the A7S III, if you plug in a power bank, it can just run forever. And you manual focus to the whole plane of field in front of you, you can basically film for 3 hours the whole time. And all you got to worry about is just getting too far out of frame. So I really enjoy that. Um, Wolfgang says, your content is great. Keep it up. Thank you. I wanted to do a YouTube channel for surfing content too. I work in AI, so I don't have much time right now. Have to sleep. Catch you on the live stream. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you stopping by. And dude, get your the little laughing face. I don't know what this means. Get your get your YouTube grind on. I mean, people say it on the Z YouTubes, but I think everyone should have a YouTube channel. It's like, why not? I mean, especially because now we have the phones that are like amazing. Like you don't need the ZV-1 or the Zoom H6 recorder. You can just use your phone, literally point it at your face. The microphone's plenty good on there. You can just hit live stream from the app itself. You hit that and you just hit go live and you can just be live streaming. Like it's really amazing where we've come now with technology. Um, and everyone should have a YouTube channel because your small little niche. I mean, one thing is you actually could like make a teeny bit of side income. It does take a little bit of work to get monetized from YouTube, but if you are in a niche like surfing, it is such a small community that as long as you have something valuable to say and you're providing value, you're gonna have people come in like you guys are doing, and you want to just know about surfboards. And I've been surfing for 30 years now, so I am lucky enough to know about surfboards. Up. Oh wow, it did it. Let's see. All right, guys, we might have to bail here. I don't know if I'm still on the live stream or not. I don't think I am. But I appreciate everyone tuning in. Let's see if I can get this back on here. Looks like I can't. Maybe I can. Let's see if I can figure this out here. Let's see here. I don't know if everyone's still with me or not. Video, your channel, live. Oh, it says I'm live. Let's see. I don't know if I'm there. I think I'm gone. Yeah, I think I'm gone. Well, we had a good run. I appreciate everyone tuning in. I don't think anyone can hear me. But, oh, maybe I'm there. I don't know. Yeah, looks like I died. Thanks, everyone. Camera malfunction. Till next time. All right, I think we got to end the live stream because for once the ZV-1, it shut off. And I don't think I'm on there. Yeah. All right, well, actually, you know what I can do? Let's see if I can do this. See if I can do this. Oh, nope. I'm done. It's done. Oh, it's funny. ZV-1, why'd you do that? Why did you do that, ZV-1? Let's see. Might be on, I might not be on. Oh, you guys can hear me? Can you see me, Ryan? Let me see if I can figure this out really quick. Need to go to Firefox, Preferences. See if I can figure this out. Camera. Here we go. Camera. Oh, it's not letting me do that. Let's see. Frozen face. Yeah, that's funny. How can I get my face back on the screen? Let's see. Let me try. Well, just either bear with me for a second or I might have to call it. Let's see if I can figure this out here. If I turn this on, let's see. Let's see. Well, let's see. Let's keep frozen face. So sorry guys, it might be done. But ask any other questions if you want. Let's see if I can get this going here. I think I have to like somehow. Oh wait, here we go. I can do it in here. Oh wait, share screen. Oh wait, not now. camera. You don't have access to these features. Yeah, I don't know. I might be locked out here. Something happened and it's not letting me get back in. Let's see if I can finagle the settings. Might be done, y'all. But give me one more sec. See if I can figure this out. Edit. Yep. Looks like a little ZV1. He did me dirty there at the very end. ZV1 did me dirty at the end. But there's still some people here, so we can keep chatting for a second if y'all want. But I'm trying to figure out how to get my face back on the screen, but I'm not sure how to do that. If anyone knows in the chat how to re-get your face on the screen, can you reconnect camera with YouTube live stream? Let's see if I can reconnect the camera. I don't know if I can go back to the camera or not. This sucks. We're all hanging out having a great time. No, my face is stuck. You know what I can maybe do? Let's see if I can do this. See if I can go edit. Yeah, we might be done. I can't figure out how to share screen. See if I can get my eMeet screen on here. eMeet link. Oh, wait. Oh, you guys see me now? This might be working. This might be working. Can you guys see me? Let me know. I'll chat for one more second. We got 6 people. Oh, no, this thing's jammed? That's hilarious. Oh, maybe I'm not. I don't even know what's going on anymore. It says I'm sharing, but then my eMeet screen. Oh, wait. There we go. We're kind of golden right now. I just got to stop moving that thing. Well, we're somewhat back. I'm on my eMeet S800 now, and you're unfortunately seeing the gnarly apartment behind me. Maybe the YouTube app will show me if I look hilarious right now or if it's actually working. This live stream is going down bad. Oh, wait, there I am. And I'm frozen. Frozen for some reason. Let's see why. Oh, now I'm moving. I'm just not going to touch anything because it's kind of working right now. But yeah, you're seeing behind the scenes. My camera just shut off, and I don't know why that happened. But this is somehow working a hilarious backup. But yeah, now you can actually see the sweet potato and even more of its glory. And you can see just how insanely crazy and wide it is. I mean, it's as wide as my head right now. So that's pretty insane. But can I move? See, it doesn't want me to move that, so I can't move that. Don't do that. If I don't do that, we're good. Yeah, I really appreciate like everyone for like tuning in a bunch lately because like I'm at a good spot now where I can keep talking about surfboards, surf gear, etc. But I think we all love talking about surfboards, and I think we like talking about surfboards because why not? They are the best. Oh, look, you're seeing my behind the scenes S800. There we go. But surfboards are universal. We all know and like surfboards. I wish they weren't as expensive as they were. But let me know in the chat, what are y'all's favorite surfboards? Let me know your favorite surfboards. I'm going to shut off my ZV1, or actually maybe I won't touch it, but I'm going to grab a beverage really quick. Because now we're just entering the, this is like double overtime now. So it's just pretty fun. Paulo says he has all 3 Cado, sweet potato 2, and mashup. Oh, you got all of them. That's what I want to do. I want to live your life. You have all the boards. This shot doesn't even look that bad. See if I'm frozen, or still. Oh, I am frozen. Why am I frozen? Oh, whatever. Well, if I'm frozen, sorry guys. You'll have to look at my face right there for a little bit, but it's kind of hilarious. Oh, I'm not frozen. No, I'm good. Hell yeah. Oh, I cursed. Don't cancel me, YouTube. But yeah, Paulo's living his best life. He has the Kato, the SB2, and the mashup. His favorite is the Kato. Kato, I would say, is a daily board at the right volume to height ratio with compromise. Flat, weak waves, I have to paddle harder. That's exactly what I think too. The Machadocado, it's like that's the daily driver, more so than the mashup. The Machadocado is like, as long as there's a little something with a little push, it's just a super fun board because it's really reliable and it rides exactly how you want to ride. Whereas the mashup, like you need more wave and then it's kind of squirrely, so it's sick, but like you got to be on your A game a lot more. Machadocado, you can be a little lazier, and then the sweet potato is like it's a long board pretty much. And then Paulo also says, but ongoing it goes, handles peakier waves with